What if I told you a country once lost a war to birds? And an emperor once ordered his army to attack the ocean? Sounds very strange. But none of this is fiction. These are real events, buried in the pages of history, too strange to believe, too real to ignore. Today we're counting down on 6 historical events that sound fake but actually happened. Let's start with number 6. The Great Emu War happened in Australia in 1932. After World War I, thousands of Australian soldiers returned home to find little support and even less work. Many were encouraged to take up farming in Western Australia, and the government provided land. But in 1932, disaster struck, not from drought or economic collapse, but from a massive migration of emus. Over 20,000 emus, searching for food and water, began destroying crops at alarming rates. Desperate farmers turned to the government, which sent soldiers armed with Lewis machine guns to deal with the birds. The operation was clumsy, the birds were too fast and the terrain too rough. The military burned through ammo with little success. The emus simply outran the soldiers and scattered. Why it happened? It was a classic case of bureaucracy underestimating nature. The operation was eventually abandoned, and the emus triumphed. Number 5. The football match that stopped a war. Ivory Coast 2005. Ivory Coast was gripped by civil war. The country was split between government forces in the south and rebels in the north. But during World Cup qualifiers, the national football team, which included players from both sides, began to win, uniting fans across the divided nation. After securing qualification, star striker Didier Drogba made an emotional plea on live TV, asking all factions to lay down their arms. Shockingly, the violence stopped, at least temporarily. Peace talks resumed, and the country found a rare moment of unity. Why it happened? Sport had become more than a game. It gave people something to believe in beyond politics and division. Drogba's appeal humanized the suffering and reminded everyone of their shared identity as Ivorians. Number 4. The Great Molasses Flood, Boston 1919. On a cold January day in 1919, a massive storage tank filled with molasses, a dark sugar syrup used in manufacturing, exploded in Boston's North End. The 2.3 million gallons of molasses formed a 25-foot wave, moving at 35 miles per hour, flattening buildings and killing 21 people. Why it happened? The tank was poorly constructed and never properly tested. The steel was too thin, and the warm molasses mixed with cold air created internal pressure that the tank couldn't handle. The disaster forced the US government to introduce stricter safety regulations, and it's still cited in engineering and legal courses today as a classic case of corporate negligence. Number 3. The Great Napoleon was attacked by bunnies. To celebrate a victory, Napoleon Bonaparte arranged a rabbit hunt for his top generals. His men collected hundreds, possibly thousands of rabbits and released them in an open field. But instead of scattering, the rabbits charged the party. Why it happened? The organizers had unknowingly bought tame, domesticated rabbits. Thinking it was feeding time, the rabbits rushed toward the soldiers. Napoleon was forced to flee in one of the most absurd retreats in military history. Though harmless, the incident became an inside joke among his officers and a bizarre footnote in the life of a military genius. Number 2. The War of the Oaken Bucket, 1325. In medieval Italy, the cities of Modena and Bologna were fierce rivals. One day, Modenese soldiers raided Bologna and stole a wooden bucket from a city well. Bologna demanded it back. Modena refused. This simple event sparked a war that unbelievably lasted for years. Thousands died in the conflict, and Modena, they kept the bucket, and it's still on display in their city hall to this day. Why it happened? The bucket was a symbol of honor. In the fragmented and pride-driven politics of medieval Italy, even a stolen relic could ignite war. The incident shows how ego and rivalry often trump reason in history. The strangest one yet is number 1. A Roman emperor declares war on the sea. Roman Emperor Caligula was infamous for his cruelty and instability. One day he assembled his army and marched to the northern shore of Gaul, modern-day France, where he ordered his soldiers to march to the shore and attack the sea. In obedience, they slashed at the waves with swords, collected seashells, and brought them back as spoils of war. Why it happened? Some say it was symbolic, a way to punish the sea after a failed military expedition. Others argue it was proof of Caligula's madness and delusions. Either way, it's remembered as one of the most bizarre commands in Roman history. History is often taught as a clean, logical sequence of events. But real history, it's messy, strange, and often makes absolutely no sense. These 6 events prove that reality can be far more bizarre than fiction. If you enjoyed this journey through the weirdest corners of the past, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Which one blew your mind the most? And do you know of any other crazy events that sound fake but actually happened? Share them below. Thanks for watching.